What up, everyone? So I've had a ton of people ask me about my wheel settings for Forza Horizon 6 on this new Fanatec wheel that I just got. I have the DD Plus base. I believe these settings will carry over pretty well between the other Fanatec bases out there. I will say this is all just personal preference. And I do feel like a lot of these settings were influenced by the last wheel that I had. I previously was on a Thrustmaster T598, and I felt like I dialed in my settings pretty well to what I wanted. And then I got this Fanatec wheel, and I know it could do a lot more than what I'm making it do, but I felt like I really liked the way the Thrustmaster wheel worked. So I kind of wanted to emulate that, but make it a little bit stronger and a little bit better feeling. And that's kind of what I was going for, just like a smooth all-around setting that you could use across all cars. But yeah, I'm just going to dive right into it. So I'm going to start over in the Fanatec app, and then we'll head over in the Forza game settings, and I'll show you what those are as well. Let's just go up to wheelbase right here. For sensitivity, I like to leave mine at 900 for drifting. Sometimes I'll change it to 540 for racing and on certain cars, but really I just like to leave it at 900. I feel like that's a good all-around setting and it feels the most realistic to me, even though this is Forza, you know? For force feedback strength, I've always heard that you want to leave this at 100% and then you tune it in the game settings. So I'll show you what those in-game settings are in just a second. For full force, I don't think this actually works in the game, but I just leave it at 50%. I don't really like a lot of vibration in my wheel, and regardless, I don't even think it works in Forza. So you can just do whatever you want with this. For natural damper, I just like to leave it at 10%. I feel like it just feels good when you turn the wheel. There's like a very slight resistance, which is what I personally like. You can turn this up more or less. Probably doesn't translate well in the video, but this is like as fast as I can turn it. If I turn it all the way down, you can go crazy. There's like no resistance when you turn it all the way down. So I just like to leave it at 10%. I personally think that feels the best. 100 is way too high if you're up there. Turn it down. For natural friction, I like to leave this off in Forza. I don't really like the way it feels when I have it on, so I just personally leave it off. It's kind of a similar thing to dampening, to where when you turn the wheel, when you have it all the way up, it feels like there's some resistance, but it's not like always present. It's more like when you are switching from transitions, really. It's kind of hard to explain, but personally, I'd like to just leave it off. For natural inertia, I personally like to leave this around like 30%. I know some people might say that's kind of high, but I personally like the way it feels. I feel like it gives the wheel some weight behind it. When you have this thing at 0, if you like, for example, if I just like toss this wheel, you can see it like rotates back pretty fast. But if I put it up really high at 100% and I toss the wheel, you can see it like goes back kind of slower. So I like to leave it at 30%. I feel like that's kind of a happy medium and it gives your car a little bit of a weighty feeling, which is what I personally like. For force feedback interpolation filter, the best way I can describe this is it's kind of like a smoothing effect. I personally like to leave it around like 3. I feel like when I turn it up way too high, it's just way too smooth and you don't feel like you're actually driving a car. It feels more like a toy in my opinion. If you feel like the wheel is too sharp when you're driving, like when you hit a curb, if you feel like the jolt the wheel is giving you is way too strong, you could turn this up a little bit more, but I personally like to leave it at 3. And then these other 4 settings, personally, I just left them at the stock settings. I felt like these ones changed enough for me to where I didn't need to mess with these. This is just how the wheel came stock. The force effect intensity 100, force effect strength 100, the spring effect strength 100, and the damper effect strength 100. That's really all I got for the Fanatec app. And now I'm going to jump over to the Forza app and I'll show you the settings that I got in there. All right, now that we're in the Forza game, I feel like the best place to start is difficulty, just because it contains this setting, simulation. You always want to be on simulation, in my opinion. Standard is just way too toy feeling for me personally. But if it's what you like, it's what you like. For these other settings, traction control, I like to leave off. Stability control, I like to leave off. For shifting, I have a clutch, so I like to use manual with clutch. Driving line, this is kind of a personal preference one. You can do whatever you want. Sometimes I leave it on full, sometimes I leave it off. It's just what I like personally. Damage and tire wear, this is Forza. I'm not trying to deal with damage and tire wear. I just turn it off. Rewind, that's up to you. Do whatever you want to do. Launch control, honestly, you might want to have this on if you're doing a drag strip a lot, but I really don't do that. I'm more of a drifter guy, so I just leave it off, honestly. Before I jump into advanced controls really quick, I just want to say this one thing. If you're having any connectivity issues with your wheel, not connecting properly, or your steering feeling weird, just make sure your wheel is device 1. A way to do that, just to make sure it works properly every single time, is just leave all your handbrake, your shifters, everything unplugged. turn Forza on and start your wheel first before plugging anything else in. This will make it to where it registers as device 1 every time. And yeah, I hope that helps you and saves you some headache. All right, now that we're in advanced controls, I'm just gonna go ahead and start at the top. For vibration, I just leave it on. I feel like these first 4 are just default settings that I just leave alone. Getting into some wheel settings. For steering axis dead zone, you want 0. Steering axis dead zone outside, you want 100. For steering linearity, I just like to leave it at the default 50. The acceleration axis dead zone inside and acceleration dead zone outside, I just leave those at the default 0 and 100. Those are for your throttle pedal. So if you are getting some ghost inputs in your throttles, you could probably turn this up a little bit. I feel like a real car doesn't have a dead zone, so why would I have it in the game? For the deceleration axis dead zone inside and deceleration axis dead zone outside, these are for your brake pedals. Kind of the same thing as the throttle pedal. If you're getting ghost inputs, I'd probably turn this up. If you don't want to have to press your brake pedal all the way, you could probably turn this down a little bit too. It's all personal preference and up to you. For the clutch axis dead zone inside and outside, I did adjust the inside a little bit, so that way it's a little bit more sensitive when I press the clutch, and I did adjust the outside a little bit, so that way I don't have to press the clutch all the way before it fully engages. I feel like having these settings makes the clutch just a little bit more reliable when you need it, but it's up to you. For e-brake, I only adjusted the outside dead zone on this one, and that's just so I don't have to pull it all the way before I know it's fully locked. For force feedback scale, I like to leave mine at 0.6. I will say I have an 18 Newton meter wheel that I'm running at 100% in the Fanatec app. So if your wheel isn't as strong as mine, you might want to adjust this one a little bit higher if you feel like it's kind of weak. But these other settings down below, I feel like they should transfer pretty well across Fanatec bases. Center spring scale, I like to leave mine at 1.4. I feel like this makes the wheel rotate fast like I want it to when I'm drifting. It's just what I like to have personally. Wheel damper, I already have the wheel damper set in the Fanatec app, so I leave this one at 0.0. For mechanical trail scale, I have it at the default 1.0. And the force feedback minimum force, I turned it down to 0.9. I personally like the way it felt at a 0.9. It's not too far off from default, honestly. It's just what I like. The force feedback load sensitivity, another thing, I'm not too far off from the default, but I just have a little bit lower. For the road feel scale, I like to leave mine at 0.8. I feel like it helps smooth out like the bumps and curb effects that you'll feel when you hit curbs in the game. It kind of makes it a little bit smoother when driving. It's just what I like to do. And then one of the last settings that I adjusted was this off-road feel scale. I don't really have a super strong rig. This is just a next level 2 racing stand. So when I have this thing turned up all the way and I go off-roading, no joke, my bass is bouncing all over the place and making a lot of noise. So I turned this down quite a bit. And then the steering sensitivity, this is just the default setting. If you feel like there's any settings that I missed in this video, first of all, my bad. Secondly, leave it down in the comments for others to see. I really hope this helps you. That's really all I got for wheel settings. If you made it this far in the video, you're awesome. I appreciate you more than I can put in words. And yeah, that's really it. Catch you all in the next one. Peace out.